Here is a question that has been rattling around in my brain for 25 years, and I think it might be rattling around in yours too. What if the most important story Rockstar Games ever told wasn't the one with the biggest budget, the most voice acting, the most hype? What if it was the very first one they told in 3 dimensions? A story about a man who never speaks a single word. A story set in a gray, rain-soaked city where everyone is for sale. Every handshake hides a knife, and the only person you can trust is the one staring back at you in the rearview mirror. Grand Theft Auto 3 came out in October of 2001, and it changed video games forever. Partly because of what it let you do, but really because of the story it told. A story about betrayal, silence, and what happens to a person when the world strips away everything they have and leaves them with nothing but forward momentum. And with GTA 6 now confirmed for November 2026, with Rockstar taking us back to Vice City for the story of Lucia and Jason, I think it's worth going all the way back to the beginning, because everything Rockstar learned about storytelling, about open worlds, about making you feel like you're living inside a city rather than playing a game, it all started here, in a city called Liberty City, with a man called Claude, and a bullet from the woman he loved. So close your eyes, get comfortable, let the weight of your body settle into whatever's holding you up right now. The bed, the couch, the pillow. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the tension in your forehead, that little knot between your eyebrows, and let it dissolve. You don't need it right now. You don't need any of it. The worries, the plans, the list of things you didn't get done today, set them down. They'll be there in the morning, patient and unchanged. But right now, they don't exist. Right now, there is only this: my voice, the story, and the sound of rain on the streets of a city that lives somewhere between memory and imagination. I'm going to tell you the whole story. Every mission, every betrayal, every character, from the first gunshot to the last. And somewhere along the way, between the neon lights and the foghorns, and the sound of tires on wet asphalt, you're going to drift off. And that's perfect. That's exactly what this is for. The story will be here when you come back. It always is. Let's begin. Liberty City. Say it out loud if you want. Liberty City. It sounds like a promise, doesn't it? A place where you can be free. A place where anything is possible. And that's the joke, really. Because Liberty City is the least free place in the world. It's a cage made of concrete and steel and dirty money. And everybody inside it is trapped. The cops are trapped by their own corruption. The criminals are trapped by their own ambitions. The regular people, the hot dog vendors, and the taxi drivers, and the old women carrying groceries up the steps of their brownstone apartments. They're trapped too, just by geography, just by the bad luck of living in a city where a stray bullet might come through your window on any given Tuesday. The city sits on 3 islands, and each island is its own little world. Portland is the first one. It's the old city, the working class city, the city of brick and iron, and the smell of diesel fuel mixed with marinara sauce. The buildings are short and packed together tight. The streets are narrow. An elevated train runs overhead, rumbling and screeching, shaking plaster from ceilings and rattling dishes in kitchen cabinets. If you've ever been to certain neighborhoods in Brooklyn or the Bronx, you know what Portland feels like. You can smell it. Fried garlic from a restaurant kitchen, garbage left too long in a dumpster on a hot day, salt air blowing in from the harbor, carrying with it the mineral tang of seawater and rusted steel. The Mafia runs Portland, a family called the Leones. They've been in charge so long that their power feels like a force of nature, like gravity or the tide. You don't question it. You just live with it. Staunton Island is the second one, across the water. Staunton is the city of glass and money, the Manhattan of this world. Skyscrapers that look like they were designed by someone who wanted to stab the sky. Corporate lobbies with marble floors, so polished you can see your reflection walking toward you like a ghost. The air on Staunton smells different. It smells like money, like dry cleaning chemicals and new car leather, and the faint ozone tang of office air conditioning. The Yakuza runs Staunton, Japanese organized crime, different from the Mafia in every way, except the one that matters. They'll kill you just as dead if you cross them. And then there's Shoreside Vale, the third island, the suburbs, trees and lawns, and two-car garages, and the distant roar of planes taking off from the airport. It looks peaceful. It looks like somewhere nothing bad ever happens. But underneath the sprinklers and the picket fences, the Colombian cartel has built a fortress, a drug empire, and at the center of that empire sits the woman who sets this entire story in motion. Her name is Catalina. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to the beginning, the very beginning, to a dark alley and the sound of a gunshot. The alley smells like wet cardboard and motor oil. Somewhere nearby, a bank alarm is screaming, that flat, electronic shriek that bounces off brick walls and seems to come from everywhere at once. Red and blue lights strobe against the buildings, turning the rain into flashing curtains of color. Two people are running through this alley, a man and a woman. They're both carrying bags, heavy bags, stuffed with cash from the bank they just robbed. Their footsteps splash through puddles that reflect the emergency lights like broken mirrors. The man is Claude. He's our protagonist, our main character, the person we're going to follow through this entire story. And the first thing you need to know about Claude is the most important thing. He doesn't talk. Not a word, not a whisper, not a grunt or a sigh or a muttered curse. In the entire story of Grand Theft Auto 3, from the first cutscene to the last, Claude never speaks. This was partly a technical choice. Voice acting for an open-world protagonist was uncharted territory in 2001, but it became something more than that. It became the defining feature of one of gaming's most enigmatic characters. Claude's silence isn't emptiness. It's a wall, a fortress, the one thing nobody can take from him. Now here's something wild. if you played Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which takes place in 1992, about 9 years before the events of GTA 3, you actually meet Claude. He shows up as a minor character, Catalina's boyfriend. Carl Johnson, the protagonist of San Andreas, dated Catalina briefly during one of the most chaotic stretches of that story. Catalina was violent, possessive, and absolutely unhinged even then. She eventually dumped CJ for Claude, and the two of them drove off together. At the time, if you were playing San Andreas, you thought nothing of it. Just another crazy side character, moving on to another poor soul. But if you knew GTA 3's story, that moment hit different. You watched Claude drive away with Catalina, and you thought, oh no, buddy. You have no idea what's coming. And what's coming is this alley, this rain, this moment. The woman running beside Claude is Catalina. She has dark hair that's plastered to her face by the rain. She has dark eyes that catch the strobe lights and throw them back like a cat's. She's fast and fierce and beautiful in the way that a thunderstorm is beautiful. Impressive from a distance, deadly up close. Catalina is ambitious. That's the word the game uses, and it's the right one. She doesn't want money. She wants power. She wants to be the biggest, the strongest, the one that everybody fears. And Claude, for all his talents, and Claude is talented, make no mistake. The man can drive and shoot and fight like nobody else in Liberty City. Claude is small time. He's a tool, a useful one, but a tool all the same. And Catalina has found a better tool. His name is Miguel. He runs the Colombian cartel, a drug operation that's been growing in Liberty City like a tumor. Miguel has money. He has soldiers. He has international connections. He has everything Catalina wants. And so, here in this alley, with the sirens getting closer and the rain getting heavier, Catalina makes her decision. She stops running. Claude stops too. He turns around. Rain runs down his face, into his eyes. He looks at her, and Catalina looks back at him with an expression that contains absolutely nothing. No guilt, no sadness, no hesitation. Just the cold, clear focus of a person who has already done the math and is satisfied with the result. She pulls out a gun. "Sorry, babe," she says. "I'm an ambitious girl. And you're just small time."
Joey!
And here's where knowing the broader GTA timeline makes this moment even more devastating. Catalina has done this before. Not exactly this. She's never shot CJ from GTA San Andreas, as far as we know. But she's betrayed a partner before. In San Andreas, set 9 years before this moment, Catalina was with Carl Johnson. Their relationship was a nightmare. Catalina was controlling, violent, and emotionally abusive. And CJ was just trying to survive long enough to build his empire. Eventually, Catalina dumped CJ for a new boyfriend. That boyfriend, Claude, the same Claude who's about to get a bullet in the chest. Catalina sent CJ a taunting letter about her new man. And CJ probably breathed a sigh of relief and moved on with his life. But Claude didn't get a letter. Claude got a gun. The pattern is the thing. Catalina uses people. She wraps herself around them, extracts what she needs: money, muscle, companionship. And when she's done, she drops them, sometimes gently, like she did with CJ, sometimes with a bullet, like she's about to do with Claude. The method changes, but the principle is the same. People are resources. When the resource is depleted, you move on. And this maps almost perfectly onto what the GTA 6 trailers seem to be setting up with Lucia and Jason. From the trailer footage and leaked details, their relationship appears to be intense and codependent, with both partners deeply invested in each other, but also clearly capable of making choices that could tear the partnership apart. The question of whether Lucia and Jason will stay loyal or betray each other seems to be one of GTA 6's central dramatic tensions. And the shadow of Claude and Catalina hangs over that question like a storm cloud. We've seen what happens when one partner decides the other is expendable. We've seen the gunshot in the alley. GTA 6 knows we've seen it, and it's going to use that knowledge to keep us on edge for the entire game. The gun fires. The sound is enormous in the narrow alley. A crack that bounces off the walls and rolls out into the night like thunder. Claude falls backward. His back hits the wet concrete. The bag of money spills open, and bills scatter in the rain like paper birds. Above him, the sky is black. No stars, just clouds and rain, and the fading echo of the shot that ended his old life. Catalina walks away. Her footsteps fade. Miguel's laugh fades. The sirens get louder. But Claude doesn't die. The bullet doesn't kill him. Maybe it missed the vital organs. Maybe it was a small caliber. Maybe Claude is just too stubborn to die. Whatever the reason, when the police arrive, they find a man lying in an alley, bleeding but breathing, surrounded by scattered money and the remnants of a plan that went horribly, personally wrong. They arrest him. They take him to a hospital. They patch him up just enough to stand trial. And through all of it, the ambulance ride, the emergency room, the courtroom, the sentencing, Claude says nothing. Not a word of defense. Not a plea. Not an explanation. The judge sentences him. The gavel falls. The bailiff leads him away. Claude goes to prison, and he waits. Time passes. It always does, even when you're not paying attention. Claude sits in his cell. He eats when they bring food. He sleeps when the lights go out. He stares at the ceiling and thinks thoughts that nobody will ever know, because Claude's thoughts are as silent as his voice. Days turn into weeks. The bruise where the bullet entered his chest turns from purple to yellow to nothing. The scar remains. And then one day, a guard tells him to get up. He's being transferred. The prison van is old and gray and smells like rust and sweat. Claude sits on a metal bench bolted to the wall, his hands cuffed in front of him. The van rocks back and forth with every pothole. Other prisoners sit across from him, men with hard faces and empty eyes. each one carrying their own story, their own series of bad decisions that led them to this bench, in this van, on this day. One of them catches Claude's attention, a man with bandaged hands and a wide, easy smile that seems completely out of place in a prison transport. His name is 8-Ball. He's an explosives expert, one of the best in Liberty City. His hands got burned in a job that went sideways. He doesn't like to talk about the details, but the bandages tell their own story. Despite the bandages, despite the handcuffs, despite the prison van, 8-Ball is in good spirits. He's the kind of person who finds opportunity in chaos. And chaos is exactly what's about to find them. The van crosses the Callahan Bridge. It's a big, old bridge that connects Staunton Island to Portland, arching over the dark water of the harbor. Rain hammers the roof. The wipers on the cab are fighting a losing battle. Inside the van, the prisoners sway with the motion of the vehicle, their chains clinking softly, their breath fogging in the cold air. Then the van stops. Hard. The prisoners lurch forward. Chains bite into wrists. Someone curses. Through the thin metal walls, Claude can hear shouting. Then gunfire, not the pop of a pistol, but the rapid chatter of automatic weapons, loud and close. The van rocks on its suspension as something, a truck, maybe, or another vehicle, slams into the convoy. The Colombian cartel. They're here, but not for Claude. They're here for another prisoner in the convoy. An old man being transported in a different vehicle. Someone important to Catalina's operation. Someone important enough to ambush a police convoy on a bridge in the middle of a rainstorm. The van tips. The world goes sideways. Metal screams. Glass shatters. The back doors fly open. And suddenly, the night is there, rain and wind, and the staccato flash of muzzle fire, and the bridge stretching away in both directions. Cars burning, police shouting, soldiers advancing. Claude and 8-Ball look at each other. No words needed. They move. They tumble out of the van and into the chaos. The bridge is a war zone. Burning vehicles, bodies, shell casings rolling across the wet asphalt. The cartel soldiers are focused on the other vehicle, on their real target. And in that window of distraction, Claude and 8-Ball run. They run through the smoke and the rain, past the wreckage, toward Portland. Behind them, an explosion tears the night open. The bridge buckles, concrete cracks, and falls into the harbor in huge, splashing chunks. The Callahan Bridge is damaged. Badly. It will be closed for weeks, maybe months. Which means Claude is trapped, stuck on Portland Island. No way across to Staunton or Shoreside Vale. No way out. But right now, that doesn't matter. Right now, what matters is that Claude is free. Free from the van. Free from the prison. Free to walk the wet streets of Portland and begin again. 8-Ball leads him through the dark, through alleys and side streets, past closed shops and sleeping brownstones, through the geography of a city that Claude doesn't know yet, but will soon know better than anyone. They reach a safe house, a tiny apartment in the red light district, the part of Portland where neon signs buzz and flicker over wet sidewalks, and the nightlife thrums like a pulse that never quite flatlines. The apartment is nothing special. A sagging bed with a thin blanket, a window that won't close all the way, a radiator that clanks and hisses like something alive is trapped inside it. The wallpaper is peeling. There's a water stain on the ceiling that looks like a map of somewhere Claude has never been. But it's a place to sleep, a place to hide, a place to start. 8-Ball sits on the bed and starts talking. He knows Portland the way a fish knows its reef. Every corner, every current, every hiding place. He tells Claude about the Leone family and their grip on the island. He tells him about the triads in Chinatown and the Colombian cartel sneaking drugs through the harbor. He tells him that if Claude wants to survive, he needs to make friends, or at least make himself useful enough that people want to keep him alive. I know a guy, 8-Ball says, runs a club in the red light district. Name's Luigi. He's connected, always needs help, doesn't ask too many questions. Claude nods. That nod, so small, so simple, is the first step. It will take Claude across all 3 islands, through the hands of a dozen bosses, and eventually back to the woman who left him bleeding in that alley. But that's a long way off. For now, there is just the apartment, the rain, the radiator clanking in the dark, and the sound of a city going about its business on the other side of a dirty window. Let me tell you about the safe house. It matters because safe houses are one of the most quietly important elements in any GTA game. They're the places where the protagonist goes when the world stops spinning for a moment. In GTA San Andreas, CJ's safe houses reflected his growing empire, starting with a modest house on Grove Street and eventually expanding to mansions and penthouses. In GTA 5, each of the 3 protagonists had a home that told you everything about who they were. Michael's suburban mansion reeking of midlife crisis. Franklin's slow upgrade from the hood to the hills. Trevor's filthy trailer in the desert that smelled the way Trevor's trailer would smell. Claude's safe house tells you about Claude. It tells you nothing. The apartment is a box. 4 walls and a floor and a ceiling. A bed with a thin mattress and a thinner blanket. A window with a crack that lets in a whisper of cold air. A radiator that clanks 3 times, pauses, then clanks twice more, like it's sending messages in a code nobody can decipher. There is nothing personal in this apartment. No photographs, no books, no mail, no evidence that a human being lives here. It could belong to anyone. It could belong to no one. And in a way, that's exactly right. Because Claude is no one. Not yet. He's a man without a name, without a voice, without a history. The apartment is a perfect reflection of its occupant. Empty, functional, waiting to be filled with something. Claude will acquire more safe houses as the story progresses. A better apartment on Staunton Island, a place in Shoreside Vale, each one slightly nicer than the last, reflecting his rising status in Liberty City's criminal hierarchy. But they will all share the same thing: emptiness. No matter how many missions Claude completes, no matter how much money he makes, no matter how many bosses he impresses and enemies he destroys, his safe houses remain bare. As if Claude, for all his forward momentum, carries nothing with him. As if he is a man moving through the world without leaving any trace of himself behind. That's a sad thought. Let's save it for later. Let's get back to the rain and the neon. The red light district at night is a painting done in neon and shadow. Pink signs, blue signs, green signs. They buzz and hum above doorways and storefronts, casting colored light onto the wet sidewalks where it mixes with the reflections of passing headlights. Women stand in doorways, smoking, talking to each other in voices too low to hear. Men walk by with their collars up and their eyes down. A taxi crawls through traffic, its yellow paint turned orange by the glow of a strip club marquee. The air down here is thick with competing smells: perfume, cigarette smoke, the greasy warmth of a pizza place next door, the sharp chemical tang of a dry cleaner working a late shift. Claude walks through it. His leather jacket is damp from the rain. His boots make no sound on the wet concrete. Or if they do, the sound is swallowed by the city's constant hum. He finds the place 8-Ball told him about. Sex Club 7. The name glows in pink neon. Bass thumps through the walls like a heartbeat. A bouncer stands by the door, arms crossed, face bored. He looks at Claude. Claude looks back. Something in Claude's eyes, some emptiness, some cold absence of fear, makes the bouncer step aside. Inside, the club is dark and loud. Music pumps from speakers mounted in the ceiling. Colored lights sweep across a stage where women dance. The floor is sticky. The air is warm and smells like spilled drinks and sweat. Men sit at tables with their drinks, watching the stage or their phones or nothing. The place feels like it exists outside of time. No windows, no clocks, no daylight to remind you that there's a world outside these walls. Luigi Gotrelli is in the back. He sits at a table with a phone in one hand and a drink in the other. He's a small man, thin, nervous, with slick back hair and a suit that shines too much under the lights. Luigi is a pimp. There's no polite way to say it. He runs this club and the women who work in it, and he makes money from both. He's not a good man. Nobody in this story is a good man. But Luigi is connected to the Leone family, and that connection is the ladder Claude needs to start climbing. Luigi looks at Claude the way a mechanic looks at a used car, assessing, evaluating, calculating the value. He sees what everyone sees: a quiet guy, strong, steady, follows instructions, doesn't ask questions. 8-Ball says you're reliable, Luigi says. I need reliable. I got a girl needs, picking up from the hospital. Name's Misty. Bring her here. Don't crash. Don't draw attention. Simple. Claude nods. Simple. That's the word. And the job is simple. Claude finds a car in Liberty City. You can always find a car if you're willing to break a window. And he drives to the hospital. The streets are quieter now, the late-night crowds thinning out. The elevated train rumbles past overhead, its windows casting rectangles of yellow light on the buildings below. A police siren wails somewhere far away, rising and falling like a wolf howling at a sky with no moon. Misty is waiting outside the hospital. She's young, mid-20s maybe, with bleached hair and dark circles under her eyes. She wears a thin jacket that's not warm enough for the weather and heels that are too high for the broken sidewalk. She gets in the car without asking who Claude is or why he's here. She just gets in. She's used to being picked up by strangers. That's her life. Claude drives her back to the club. The ride is quiet. Misty looks out the window. Claude watches the road. The wipers go back and forth. The radio plays softly. Chatterbox FM, the talk radio station, where a host named Laszlo is losing an argument with a caller about whether pigeons should have the right to vote. Laszlo. Now there's a name that connects the entire Grand Theft Auto universe. Laszlo Jones has appeared in every single GTA game since Grand Theft Auto 3. Sometimes as a radio host, sometimes as a TV personality, sometimes as a character you can actually interact with. In GTA 3, he's just a voice on the radio, the frazzled host of Chatterbox FM, a talk show where Liberty City's weirdest citizens call in to rant about conspiracies, complain about traffic, and argue about subjects so bizarre that Laszlo can barely keep up. By the time GTA 5 rolls around, Laszlo has become a full character, a washed-up TV host that Trevor Phillips torments in some of the game's funniest scenes. And with GTA 6 heading to Vice City and the state of Leonida, you can absolutely bet that Laszlo, or some version of him, will be on the airwaves there too. He's the one constant in the GTA universe. Presidents change, crime bosses fall, but Laszlo keeps talking. Claude delivers Misty to the club. Luigi nods, pays him, tells him to come back tomorrow. And just like that, Claude has a job. The jobs are small at first. Pick someone up, drop someone off, follow this guy, and tell me where he goes. Nothing glamorous, nothing dangerous, but each job is a test, and Claude passes everyone. And slowly, quietly, a reputation begins to build. The quiet guy, the reliable one, the one who does what he's told and keeps his mouth shut. Everybody in Liberty City talks too much and promises too little. Claude's silence is gold. Let me pause here. Let me slow down. Take a breath with me, a long one, and let it out slowly. Let me tell you what it feels like to drive through Portland at night. Because so much of this story, so much of every GTA story, happens behind the wheel. Driving is how you experience the world. Driving is how the city reveals itself to you, block by block, turn by turn, like a story being told one sentence at a time. Claude is behind the wheel of a stolen sedan. Nothing fancy. dark blue paint, a dent on the passenger side, an air freshener shaped like a pine tree hanging from the rearview mirror that lost its scent months ago. The engine hums at a low pitch, steady, reliable, not fast, but not slow. The heater pushes warm air through the vents. Outside, the rain has lightened to a drizzle, the kind that hangs in the air like mist, that you can feel on your face, but can barely see. He drives through the red light district first. Neon reflects off the wet road in long, colored streaks. Pink, blue, green, that blur and shift as the car moves through them. A woman steps off the curb, and Claude slows to let her pass. A taxi honks somewhere behind him. A drunk man is singing on the sidewalk, his voice rising and falling in a melody that doesn't match any song that's ever existed. Then into Chinatown. The neon changes, warmer here, more red and gold. Paper lanterns hang from wires strung between buildings, swaying gently in the wind. The smell changes too. Ginger and sesame oil, and the deep, savory richness of soy sauce, drifting from a late-night kitchen where someone is cooking for the staff after the restaurant closes. Steam rises from a manhole cover and drifts across the road in slow, ghostly tendrils. A cat sits on a windowsill watching Claude's car with the total bone-deep indifference that only cats possess. Through Trenton next. Industrial. The smells here are heavy, machine oil, damp concrete, the metallic bite of rust. Warehouses line both sides of the street, their corrugated walls streaked with rain. A chain-link fence topped with razor wire runs along a loading dock where a single security light burns, casting a cone of yellow that makes the darkness beyond it seem even darker. A forklift sits idle next to a pallet of something shrink-wrapped and anonymous. Everything in Trenton looks like it's waiting for something. Waiting for morning. Waiting for a truck. Waiting. Then up the hill to St. Mark's, the Lyon neighborhood. The streets narrow. The buildings change, brownstones now, old and dignified, with iron railings and stone steps and window boxes where somebody sometime tried to grow flowers. The streetlights here are older, casting a warmer, softer glow. A church bell rings once, just once, a single deep note that hangs in the air like a held breath before dissolving into the rain. The radio plays. Laszlo is arguing with a new caller, this one convinced that the government is putting surveillance devices inside fish. Laszlo asks why anyone would want to spy through a fish. The caller says that's exactly what they want you to ask. Laszlo sighs. You can hear his soul leaving his body through that sigh. Claude drives. The city unspools around him. And somewhere in the back of his quiet mind, he is learning. Every street, every alley, every turn, because in Liberty City, the geography of a neighborhood might save your life someday. A shortcut through an alley, a bridge you can jump, a ramp hidden behind a building. Claude drives and watches and remembers. It's the most thinking he ever does, as far as anyone can tell. Luigi gives Claude harder work. A drug dealer has been hovering around the club, catching Luigi's workers when they leave. offering them a taste of something called spank. Spank is a powerful synthetic drug manufactured by the Colombian cartel, and it's spreading through Liberty City like a sickness. One taste and you want more. 2 tastes and you need more. 3 tastes and you're gone, lost to a chemical hunger that eats everything else in your life. Your job, your relationships, your dignity. Luigi doesn't care about the morality of drugs. Luigi is no saint. He cares about his business. Workers on Spank are unreliable workers, and unreliable workers cost money. So Luigi tells Claude to find the dealer and make him go away. Claude finds him in a park near the club. The dealer is young, cocky, leaning against a bench with a gold chain around his neck, watching the street with the lazy confidence of someone who thinks they're untouchable. He doesn't see Claude coming. Nobody ever sees Claude coming. The job is done quickly, efficiently, without any wasted motion. And the dealer doesn't come back. Ever. Spank, by the way, is one of the most important elements in GTA 3's story. It's not just a drug, it's a weapon. The Colombian cartel uses Spank to destabilize entire neighborhoods, to weaken rival gangs, to create chaos that they can exploit. It's an economic attack disguised as a drug epidemic. And it works. Spank seeps through Portland like water through cracks in a foundation, weakening everything it touches. Luigi is pleased with Claude's work. He tells his contacts about the quiet, reliable guy who handles problems without fuss. And one of those contacts is a man named Joey Leone. Joey Leone is Salvador Leone's son. Salvador is the boss of bosses, the head of the entire Leone family, and we'll get to him soon. But first, Joey. Joey runs a garage in Trenton, the industrial part of Portland. The garage sits on a corner lot behind a chain-link fence. Its corrugated walls painted a shade of green that might have been cheerful once, but has faded to the color of old moss. Inside, it smells the way all garages smell. Motor oil, brake fluid, the sharp sweetness of spilled gasoline, and underneath it all, the metallic warmth of recently welded steel. Fluorescent lights hang from the ceiling on chains, casting a bluish light that makes everything look slightly underwater. The floor is concrete, stained with decades of oil drips that have formed abstract patterns, like a map of some alien continent. Tools hang on pegboard walls, wrenches and ratchets, and socket sets arranged with the precision of a surgeon's instruments. A radio sits on a shelf, playing head radio, the pop station, its tinny speakers buzzing with a song that nobody in the garage is listening to. Joey is in the bay, bent under the hood of a sports car, his hands black with grease up to the wrists. He's young, mid-20s, dark hair, his father's temper and his mother's stubbornness. Joey is better with engines than with people. He can diagnose a misfire by sound alone. He can rebuild a transmission in an afternoon. He understands the logic of machines. Input leads to output. Cause leads to effect. Every problem has a solution if you're patient enough to find it. People are messier. People lie and scheme and betray. Engines don't. But Joey is a Leone, and in Liberty City, your last name is your job description. So Joey runs the family's chop shop operation alongside his legitimate garage. Stolen cars come in one door, and unrecognizable cars go out the other, with fresh paint and fresh plates, ready for resale. It's a clean business as far as criminal businesses go. Nobody gets hurt. Well, nobody gets hurt in the garage. The rest of Joey's business is different. Joey gives Claude harder jobs than Luigi did. Rival families, the Forleys, specifically, have been testing Leone territory, pushing boundaries, making moves. Joey wants to push back. Hard, he sends Claude to steal cars, destroy businesses, and in one particularly grim assignment, deal with a man named Mike Forley. Mike Forley has been causing problems, the kind of problems that can't be solved with a conversation. Joey tells Claude to handle it, and Claude does. He finds Mike. He takes care of the situation, and then he puts Mike in the trunk of a car and drives to the junkyard, where he feeds the car with Mike inside, into the crusher. The machine groans and squeals and compresses the car into a cube of twisted metal about the size of a washing machine. Now here's a thing the GTA nerds love. The Forley family appears throughout the entire 3D universe. In GTA Vice City, which is set in 1986, the Forleys are actually one of the most powerful families in the country. Sonny Forley is the main antagonist of that game, the man who sends Tommy Vercetti to Vice City and eventually tries to take everything Tommy built. Tommy kills Sonny at the end of Vice City, and that's the beginning of the Forleys' decline. By the time GTA San Andreas rolls around in 1992, Marco Forley, Sonny's relative, is still trying to hold things together, and CJ ends up taking him out too. So by the time we reach GTA 3 in 2001, the Forleys are a shadow of what they once were. A great family brought low by 2 decades of bad decisions and worse enemies. And now Claude is crushing their soldiers into cubes of scrap metal in a Portland junkyard. The decline is complete. Joey is impressed with Claude. Word gets around, and through Joey, Claude meets the next piece of the puzzle, Tony Cipriani. Tony Cipriani is a made man, a full, sworn member of the Leone family. He's taken the oath. He's proven his loyalty. He's a soldier, an enforcer, the guy you send when you want somebody scared. Tony has a reputation for violence. People are afraid of him. Everyone except his mother. Ma Cipriani is a tiny old woman who lives in a restaurant in St. Mark's. And she is the most terrifying person in this entire story. Not because she's violent, because she's disappointed. Ma Cipriani expected great things from her son, and in her eyes, he has delivered nothing but mediocrity. He doesn't call enough. He doesn't visit enough. He doesn't eat enough. He's not as tough as his father was. God rest his soul. She communicates this disappointment through a constant stream of criticism that follows Tony like a cloud of gnats. It would be funny if it weren't so sad. And here's another connection to the wider GTA universe. Tony Cipriani is actually the protagonist of Grand Theft Auto. Liberty City Stories, a game set in 1998, 3 years before GTA 3. In that game, Tony is returning to Liberty City after going into hiding for committing a murder. And he has to fight his way back up through the Leone family's ranks. By the time we meet him in GTA 3, he's made it. He's a respected member of the family. But the respect of the family doesn't seem to help with the one thing he really wants: his mother's approval. Tony's missions for Claude are about the Triads. The Triads are a Chinese criminal organization operating out of Chinatown, and they've been encroaching on Leone territory for years. The conflict between the Leones and the Triads has been a slow burn. Minor provocations, territorial disputes, the occasional fistfight outside a restaurant. But Tony has decided it's time to turn up the heat. He sends Claude to Chinatown. First, as a driver, Claude has to drive Tony to a meeting with Triad representatives. A meeting that goes wrong almost immediately. The Triads ambush the car, and suddenly Claude is weaving through Chinatown's narrow streets at 60 miles an hour. Triad vehicles in pursuit, bullets cracking against the trunk of the car, Tony shouting directions from the passenger seat. The streets here are tight, lined with vendors' carts and parked delivery trucks, and Claude threads through them with a precision that borders on impossible. They make it, barely. After that, Tony goes on the offensive. He sends Claude to destroy Triad-run fish factories in Chinatown. These factories are fronts, legitimate businesses on paper, something else entirely in practice. Claude enters them at night, moving through rooms that reek of salt and rotting fish and industrial cleaner. Past workers who are as much victims of the Triad hierarchy as they are participants in it. And then 8-Ball arrives with his explosives, because 8-Ball always appears when things need to blow up, and they plant the charges and run. The explosions are enormous, 3 of them, one after another, lighting up the Chinatown night in blooms of orange and yellow. The shockwaves rattle windows for blocks in every direction. Smoke rises into the gray sky. Car alarms scream, and the Triads, caught completely off guard, scramble to respond to an attack they never saw coming. The Triad war marks Claude's transformation from errand boy to weapon. He's not driving people around or intimidating street-level dealers anymore. He's fighting a war, and he's winning. And here's a subtle thing the game does that's easy to miss. As Claude works for different bosses, the geography of Portland changes around him. Areas that were once neutral become hostile. Streets that were safe become dangerous. The Triads, pushed back by Claude's attacks, become aggressive. Their cars will chase Claude if he drives through Chinatown. The Mafia soldiers in St. Mark's, meanwhile, treat Claude like one of their own. The city is not a static backdrop. It's a living ecosystem that responds to Claude's actions. This was revolutionary in 2001, and it's a design philosophy that has only deepened with each subsequent GTA game. Rockstar has confirmed that GTA 6's world will be their most reactive yet, with NPCs that remember your actions and neighborhoods that change based on what you do. But the seed of that idea, it was planted right here on the streets of Portland when triad gangs started recognizing Claude's car and opening fire. Let me take a breath here. Let's slow down together. The story is going to get heavier from here, and I want you to be comfortable. Feel your breathing. Feel the weight of your body. You don't need to go anywhere or do anything. Just be here. Just listen. The city will wait. There's a specific quality to Portland at this point in the story that I want to paint for you. It's late, maybe 2, 3 in the morning. The bars have closed. The last drunks have stumbled home or passed out in doorways. The streets are empty, except for the occasional taxi and the police cruisers that drift through the neighborhoods like sharks through shallow water. The neon signs are still buzzing, but the crowds beneath them are gone. The elevated train has stopped running for the night, and without its constant rumble, Portland feels strangely hollow. You can hear things you couldn't hear before. The creak of a fire escape in the wind, the distant clang of something metal falling over in an alley, a dog barking 3 blocks away, its voice echoing off the buildings, the rain, always the rain, tapping on car roofs and awning edges, and the metal lids of garbage cans. Claude is somewhere in this emptiness. Driving or walking, it doesn't matter. Moving through the dark city like a ghost through an old house. He's been in Liberty City for weeks now. He knows the rhythm of the place. He knows when the streets are busy and when they're dead. He knows which alleys to avoid and which ones lead to shortcuts. He knows the sound of a police siren from 6 blocks away and the difference between gunfire and fireworks. The city has become a part of him, or he has become a part of the city. It's hard to tell the difference. Word of Claude's effectiveness travels up the chain, and eventually it reaches the man at the top, Salvador Leone, the Don, the boss of the Leone family, and the most powerful man on Portland Island. Salvador lives in a mansion on the hill in St. Mark's, a big, old house surrounded by stone walls and iron gates, overlooking the rest of Portland, the way a hawk overlooks a field of mice. The house smells like cigar smoke and old leather, and the faint, sweet undertone of expensive cologne. The carpets are thick. The chandeliers are crystal. Family photographs line the hallways. Salvador as a young man, handsome and fierce, standing next to people who are probably dead now. This is a house that has seen decades of power. It practically breathes authority. Salvador himself is old, silver hair, deep lines in his face, dark eyes that move constantly, evaluating, assessing, calculating. He wears tailored suits and speaks with a voice like gravel wrapped in velvet, soft on the surface, rough underneath. When Salvador talks to you, he makes you feel like you're the most important person in the room. He puts a hand on your shoulder. He calls you friend. He pours you a drink from a crystal decanter. It's all an act, every bit of it. Salvador doesn't have friends. He has assets, and when an asset stops being useful, Salvador disposes of it. But Claude doesn't know that yet. Claude is just a soldier being summoned by the boss. He walks into Salvador's mansion, and Salvador greets him warmly. And Claude begins working for the most dangerous man on Portland Island. Salvador's missions are bigger than anything Claude has done before. The Don sends Claude after the Colombian cartel's operations on Portland, destroying their supply lines, eliminating their dealers, disrupting the flow of spank through the island streets. The biggest job is an attack on a cartel freighter docked in Portland Harbor. This ship has been smuggling spank into the city in bulk, hidden inside legitimate cargo, and Salvador wants it gone. The plan involves Claude and 8-Ball. 8-Ball will sneak aboard the ship and plant explosives. Claude will provide sniper cover from a rooftop overlooking the dock. It's a two-person job, intimate, precise, requiring absolute trust between the two players. Claude lies on that rooftop for what feels like an eternity. The rain falls on his back. The dock below is lit by floodlights that turn the raindrops into golden streaks. Through the scope of the sniper rifle, the world narrows to a circle that contains cartel soldiers patrolling the deck, containers stacked like children's blocks, the dark water lapping against the hull, and there, moving slowly through the shadows, a small figure with bandaged hands. 8-Ball. One by one, Claude picks off the guards. The rifle has a suppressor. The shots are barely louder than a hand clap. Through the scope, a guard stumbles, falls. Another turns to look, falls. 8-Ball moves deeper into the ship, unaware of the bullets that are clearing his path, focused entirely on the explosive charges in his bag. The tension builds, minute by minute. Rain on the roof, the scope misting with water, Claude wiping it clear with his sleeve. Watching, waiting, one shot, then another, then a pause, then another, and then the signal, a flare from the deck. 8-Ball is clear. Claude waits 3 seconds. Then the ship erupts. The explosion is magnificent and terrible, a column of fire that rises higher than the dock cranes, punching a hole in the cloud ceiling, scattering burning debris across the harbor. The shockwave hits Claude's rooftop, and he feels it in his chest, a physical pressure, a wall of sound and force. Windows shatter in the warehouses behind him. Car alarms go off across Portland. The harbor water, lit from below by the burning fuel, glows an unnatural orange. And the ship, what's left of it, sinks in a bubbling hiss of steam and fire. Salvador is overjoyed. He calls Claude to the mansion. More drinks, more congratulations, more shoulder patting and friend calling. But something in Salvador's eyes has changed. A new expression, not gratitude, not admiration. Fear, because Salvador has realized something. Claude is very, very good at what he does. And a man who is very good at violence is a man who cannot be controlled forever. Here is the thing about paranoia. It doesn't need evidence. It feeds on itself. It grows in the dark, in the quiet hours of the night, in the space between one thought and the next. And Salvador Leone is the most paranoid man in all of Liberty City. He has to be. He survived decades at the top, dozens of attempts on his life, hundreds of moments where a trusted friend turned out to be an enemy, where a business partner reached for a gun instead of a handshake. Salvador has survived all of it because he sees betrayal everywhere. In every conversation, every glance, every silence. His paranoia is his armor. It has kept him alive. But armor is heavy, and sometimes it makes you see threats that aren't there. Enter Maria Latter, Salvador's wife. Maria is decades younger than Salvador, a beautiful woman with expensive taste and a mouth that never stops moving. She talks about everything: her shopping trips, her friends, her hair, her nails, the weather, the food, a dream she had where she was a dolphin, another dream where she was a dolphin being chased by a very judgmental pelican. Maria talks the way other people breathe, constantly, automatically, without apparent effort. Maria married Salvador for the money and the status. She got both. What she didn't get was freedom. Salvador keeps her on a short leash. He controls her schedule, her spending, her social life. She's a bird in a golden cage, beautiful and bored, and slowly going crazy. When Claude starts working for Salvador, Maria notices him. How could she not? Claude is different from the other men in Salvador's orbit. He doesn't try to impress her. He doesn't flatter her. He doesn't stare at her the way the other men do. With that mixture of desire and fear that comes from wanting something that belongs to the boss, Claude just exists, quietly, competently, like a piece of furniture that happens to be very good at violence. Maria starts talking to Claude, not in a romantic way, in a human way. She talks to him because he listens, because everybody else in her life either ignores her or uses her. And Claude, by virtue of his silence, does neither. He simply stands there, and she talks. And for a few minutes, she feels like a person instead of a possession. Salvador sees them together, and his paranoid mind catches fire. They're having an affair. They're plotting against him. Claude is going to steal his wife, and his empire, and his power. None of it is true, but truth is irrelevant to paranoia. Salvador makes his decision. Claude has to die. He devises a plan. He gives Claude one last job, a pickup at the Portland docks, a car waiting at a specific address. All Claude has to do is drive it to a warehouse. Simple, easy, except the car is rigged with explosives. When Claude turns the key, the car becomes a coffin. But Maria finds out. How, we don't know exactly. Maybe she overheard a phone call. Maybe one of Salvador's guards let something slip. However it happens, Maria calls Claude. Her voice is fast and scared, stripped of its usual breezy chatter. "Don't get in the car," she says. "Salvatore rigged it. There's a bomb. He's going to kill you. I know someone on Staunton Island. Yakuza. Her name is Asuka. She can help. Meet me at the waterfront dock. Now. Right now." Claude turns away from the car. He walks to the waterfront, and there is Maria, shaking in a small motorboat, the engine idling, rain beating on the hull. Claude steps in. Maria hits the throttle. The boat lurches forward, cutting through the dark water of the harbor. And Portland, the island where Claude was reborn, where he built himself up from nothing, falls away behind them. Through the rain, he can see the mansion on the hill. Salvatore's mansion. The windows glow yellow with warm light. Somewhere inside, Salvatore is waiting for a phone call that will tell him the car has exploded and Claude is dead. That call will never come. And when Salvatore realizes it, when he understands that Claude has escaped, the rage will be terrible. But that's a problem for later. Right now, there is just the boat, the water, the engine, Maria's voice, filling the silence with words that don't need answers. And ahead, growing larger through the rain and the mist, the glass towers of Staunton Island. Staunton Island hits you differently when you approach it from the water. From the harbor, the skyscrapers look like monuments built by giants. Glass and steel rising hundreds of feet into the clouds, their lights glittering in the rain, their reflections stretching across the water in long, wavering columns of gold and white. The buildings are so tall that you can't see their tops. They just dissolve into the cloud cover, as if they continue upward forever, punching through the sky into some other dimension where the air is thin and clean and nobody is trying to kill you. A woman is waiting on the dock. Asuka Keisan. Asuka is Japanese. She is slim, immaculate, dressed in dark clothing that looks simple until you notice the quality of the fabric, the precision of the tailoring. Her hair is pulled back tight. Her posture is perfect. She radiates a calm that has nothing to do with inner peace and everything to do with knowing she can destroy anything that threatens her. Asuka runs the Yakuza on Staunton Island. She is refined, cultured, and capable of violence that would make Salvatore Leone look like a schoolyard bully. Asuka looks at Claude, a long, appraising look. "You don't talk," she says. "Not a question." Claude meets her gaze. A small smile. "Good. I need someone who acts, not someone who talks. You'll work for me. In exchange, the Yakuza protects you from the Leones." "Agreed." Claude nods. "But first, a proof of loyalty. I need to know you've truly cut your ties with Portland." She wants him to kill Salvatore Leone. Think about that. The man who employed Claude, who poured him drinks and called him friend, who then tried to blow him up. Asuka wants Claude to go back to Portland and assassinate him. Claude doesn't hesitate. He drives back to Portland, across a different bridge, through streets he knows by heart now. He finds Salvatore outside Luigi's club, leaving a late-night meeting, silver hair catching the streetlight, expensive overcoat, guards flanking him. The old Don walks to his car with the careful, measured steps of a man who has survived decades of exactly this kind of thing. Claude is across the street, in the shadows, in the rain. Salvatore never sees him. The killing is professional. Quick, over in seconds. The dawn falls on the sidewalk, and the rain mixes with what it mixes with, and the guards shout and scramble. But Claude is already gone, already driving back to Staunton. Salvatore Leone, the King of Portland, one of the 3D universe's most enduring characters, a man who appeared in GTA San Andreas and GTA Liberty City stories, and defined what it meant to be a GTA Mafia boss, dies on a wet sidewalk because a paranoid decision pushed away the one man who might have protected him. It's almost poetic, and it connects directly to what Rockstar is building in GTA 6. The leaked footage and trailers for GTA 6 show a story about two protagonists, Jason and Lucia, who are in a romantic and criminal partnership, a modern Bonnie and Clyde. And that's exactly what Claude and Catalina were before everything went wrong. The parallels are impossible to miss. GTA 3 asked, what happens when one partner betrays the other? GTA 6, based on everything we know so far, seems to be asking the same question from a different angle. What happens when the partnership holds? What happens when it doesn't? The ghost of Claude and Catalina's broken relationship hangs over Jason and Lucia's story like a warning. Staunton Island becomes Claude's new world. Asuka's missions are different from anything he did on Portland, where the Mafia operated on instinct and tradition. The Yakuza operates on precision and data. Asuka doesn't want Claude to charge into enemy territory with guns blazing. She wants intelligence. She sends him to follow cartel members, to observe their routines, to photograph their vehicles and map their supply routes. It's spy work. Patient, careful, quiet. Claude adapts. He always adapts. That's his superpower, if you can call it that. Not strength or speed or marksmanship, but adaptability. Drop him into any situation, and he will figure it out. He's like water. He fills whatever shape the container requires. Asuka introduces Claude to her brother, Kenji Kaisen. Kenji runs the Yakuza's casino on Staunton. A big, flashy operation with neon lights and loud music, and a constant river of money flowing in from the gambling tables. Kenji is traditional, where Asuka is progressive. He views Claude with suspicion and barely concealed contempt. This outsider, this gaijin, this silent weapon that his sister has inexplicably chosen to trust. Kenji gives Claude enforcement work, rough, unglamorous stuff, reminding business owners who protects them, convincing competitors to relocate, showing up at places with enough menace to make a point. Claude does it all without complaint, without hesitation, without so much as a change in expression. And then there's Donald Love. Donald Love is the most disturbing character in this story. He's a media mogul, the owner of Love Media, which controls newspapers and TV stations and radio across Liberty City. He lives in a penthouse at the top of one of Staunton's tallest towers, surrounded by glass and chrome and views that stretch to the horizon. He wears expensive suits. He speaks softly. He has the manners of someone who was raised by diplomats. When you meet him, you think, here is the most civilized person in Liberty City. And then you notice the little things, the hints, the implications, the subtle, stomach-turning suggestions that Donald Love has appetites that go far beyond money and power. The story never comes right out and says what Donald's darkest secret is, but it drops enough breadcrumbs to keep you awake at night. Here's another universe connection. Donald Love actually appears in GTA Vice City, set in 1986, as a young protege of a real estate developer named Avery Carrington. In Vice City, Donald is learning the business, learning how to manipulate markets, how to use violence as an economic tool, how to make money from chaos. By GTA 3, 15 years later, Donald has become the master. He's taken everything Avery taught him and refined it into something elegant and terrible. Donald gives Claude a job that makes everything else in the story seem almost innocent by comparison. He wants Claude to assassinate Kenji Kasen, Asuka's brother, not because Kenji is Donald's enemy, not because Kenji has done anything to Donald, but because Kenji's death will start a gang war between the Yakuza and the cartel. And a gang war means violence, and violence means fear, and fear means plummeting property values. And plummeting property values mean that Donald Love can buy real estate at a fraction of its worth. A man's life reduced to its impact on property prices. Claude does it. He steals a cartel vehicle, drives to Kenji's casino, and kills him in a way that looks exactly like a cartel hit. Kenji dies on the roof of his own casino, confused and angry, believing his enemies have come for him. He dies without knowing that the man pulling the trigger works for his own sister. The Yakuza declares war on the cartel. Staunton erupts, and Donald Love, in his glass penthouse, begins making phone calls. This mission is the moral nadir of the story, the point where Claude crosses a line that can never be uncrossed. And it's also, arguably, the mission that best captures what Grand Theft Auto has always been about. The idea that in a capitalist system pushed to its logical extreme, everything is for sale. Everything is transactional. Even human life has a dollar value. You know what's crazy? This exact same idea appears in GTA 5 with Lester Crest and the assassination missions on the stock market. Lester has Franklin kill specific corporate targets, and before each hit, Lester buys or shorts the target's stock, profiting from the death. It's Donald Love's strategy, refined and updated for the digital age. And I'd be willing to bet that GTA 6, with its confirmed focus on modern social media culture and influencer lifestyles, will push this theme even further. The idea that people are commodities, that attention is currency, that a human life can be measured in likes and views and engagement metrics. It's the logical next step from what Donald Love was doing on Staunton Island in 2001. And it's the natural territory for a game set in a fictionalized version of Florida in the mid-2020s, where the line between reality and performance has dissolved entirely. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to Staunton, back to the rain. The gang war transforms the island. Neighborhoods that were safe become dangerous overnight. The sound of gunfire becomes as common as car horns. Businesses close. People hurry through the streets with their heads down. The glass towers of Staunton, which once gleamed with clean corporate confidence, now look down on streets littered with shell casings and broken glass. It's a war zone wearing a suit. And in the middle of this war, Claude gets a call from someone new. A cop, a very dirty cop. Ray Machowski has been on the Liberty City police force for 20 years. He's seen everything, done everything, sold information to everyone. The Mafia has his number. The Yakuza has his number. For 2 decades, Ray has walked the tightrope between law and crime with the balance of a man who was born on a wire. He knows exactly when to share a secret, when to look the other way, when to disappear, and when to make sure someone else disappears. But the tightrope is fraying. Internal affairs is closing in. Witnesses are remembering things they should have forgotten. Evidence is surfacing in places it shouldn't be. Ray can feel the handcuffs getting closer. And for the first time in 20 years, he's genuinely afraid. He calls Claude because Claude is perfect for this kind of work. Unconnected, reliable, silent, the ideal person to help you clean up a lifetime of corruption. Ray's missions have a different texture from the others. They're quieter, more tense, less about firepower, and more about timing. Claude destroys evidence, files, photographs, recordings. He drives a car full of incriminating material through Staunton's streets at midnight, watching the rearview mirror for police lights, and drops it off a pier into the harbor. The water closes over the car's roof in a column of bubbles, and for a moment the harbor is still. And then the waves resume their rhythm, and it's as if the car was never there. Ray himself is interesting because he's the most honest, dishonest person in the story. He sits in his unmarked car in a parking lot in Belleville Park, stubble on his jaw, coffee going cold in the cup holder. And he doesn't pretend to be anything other than what he is. I'm dirty, Ray says. You know it. I know it. Let's skip the part where we pretend otherwise and get to the part where you help me fix this. Claude nods. There's a mutual understanding between them that's almost refreshing. No false friendship, just 2 professionals conducting a transaction in a parking lot that smells like wet leaves and exhaust. Ray's story ends at the airport. He asks Claude to drive him there. One last ride through a city he's lived in for decades. The drive is tense. Patrol cars prowl the streets. Every intersection feels like a checkpoint. Claude drives with his usual calm, taking side streets and shortcuts. The car's headlights sweeping across wet asphalt and chain-link fences. They make it. At the airport, Ray stands at the departure gate with a suitcase full of cash and a ticket to Miami under a name that isn't his. He looks tired, not Claude's kind of tired, the existential kind. Ray's tired is simpler. He's a man who's been running for 20 years and knows this final run will never end. Take care of yourself, Ray says. Claude nods. Ray disappears through the gate. Gone, one of the few characters who actually escapes Liberty City. And he does it through cowardice, through the animal wisdom of knowing when the forest is on fire and running. And here's a nice geographic coincidence. Ray's escape to Miami connects directly to the GTA universe, because Miami, or rather Vice City, based on Miami, is where GTA 6 takes place. You could almost imagine Ray Machowski, decades later, sitting in a bar in Vice City under his fake name, watching the news about Lucia and Jason's crime spree and thinking, some cities never change. Of course, the universe rules prevent this. Ray is a 3D universe character, but the vibe is there. The feeling, the idea that Liberty City and Vice City are connected not by characters, but by attitude, by the same bone-deep cynicism. Meanwhile, the Yakuza cartel war has produced an unexpected prize. The Yakuza has captured Miguel, Catalina's partner, the man she chose over Claude. Asuka begins interrogating him with an intensity that surprises even the hardened criminals around her. She is grieving her brother Kenji's death, and she channels that grief into extracting every piece of information Miguel has about the cartel's operations. What Miguel reveals is alarming. Catalina isn't just running a drug business. She's building an empire. Spank is the foundation, the money machine that funds everything else. Weapons, political connections, international networks. Catalina has been thinking bigger than anyone realized, and she's been doing it from a fortified compound in the hills of Shoreside Vale. Claude learns all of this, and for the first time in the story, the professional and the personal converge. The cartel he's been fighting isn't just an obstacle in someone else's gang war. It's Catalina's cartel, the woman who shot him, the woman who started everything. Every thread Claude has been pulling leads back to her. Asuka sends Claude to assault the cartel's construction site on Staunton, a half-built skyscraper that serves as a front for their Spank manufacturing operation. The attack happens at dusk. The sky is the color of a bruise, purple and gray, and tinged with yellow at the edges. The construction site rises against it like a skeleton. All bare steel beams and exposed concrete floors, with plastic sheeting flapping in the wind like the sails of a ghost ship. Claude fights through it level by level. The lower floors are chaotic. Cartel soldiers behind concrete pillars, muzzle flashes strobing in the dusty air. The crack and echo of gunfire in enclosed spaces. Higher up, the walls disappear. The floors are open to the sky. Rain blows in sideways. The city stretches out below like a map made of lights. Claude moves from cover to cover, firing in controlled bursts, advancing floor by floor with the patience of a man climbing a very dangerous staircase. He destroys the lab, the chemicals, the equipment, the packages of spank, stacked neatly in plastic-wrapped bundles, ready for distribution. He leaves the building burning, smoke rising against the Staunton skyline, in a thick, dark column visible from all 3 islands. Let me pause here again. Let's breathe. We're at the midpoint of the story. Claude has crossed from Portland to Staunton. He's worked for the Mafia, the Yakuza, a corrupt cop, and a probable cannibal. He's killed a Don and a gang boss. He's destroyed a freighter and a drug lab. And through it all, he hasn't said a word. Think about the silent protagonists of gaming. Link from Zelda, Gordon Freeman from Half-Life, the unnamed Marine in Doom. Each one silent for a different reason. Link is silent because he's a fairy tale hero, an archetype. And archetypes don't need to talk. Freeman is silent because the game wants you to feel like you are Freeman. And your own thoughts are his thoughts. But Claude is different. Claude's silence feels chosen. Deliberate, not a design limitation, but a character trait. He watched the woman he loved shoot him and walk away. And in that moment, something broke. Not his body healed. Something else, the part of him that believed words had power, the part that believed communication mattered. Catalina used words when she said she loved him. Salvador used words when he called Claude friend. Words are how people lie to each other in Liberty City. And Claude simply stopped participating in the lie. This makes him the perfect open-world protagonist. Because in an open world, the player is the one making choices. Where to go, what to do, who to help. A talking protagonist might make choices the player disagrees with. A silent one never does. Claude's silence isn't just a narrative device. It's a game design philosophy. And it's one that Rockstar eventually moved away from. A GTA 4's Nico Bellic talks constantly. And he's one of the most complex protagonists in gaming. GTA 5's 3 protagonists each have distinct voices and personalities. And GTA 6's Jason and Lucia are fully voiced characters with an intricate relationship that drives the story. But you lose something when the protagonist talks. It's hard to name. When Claude walks into a room, you project yourself onto him. You imagine what he's thinking. You fill the silence with your own feelings. When Nico walks into a room, you listen to what Nico thinks. Deeper storytelling, maybe, but a different kind of connection. Less yours. I wonder if GTA 6 will find a way to split the difference. Jason and Lucia can't be silent. The game's relationship dynamic requires them to communicate. But maybe there'll be moments of quiet. Moments where the camera holds on Lucia's face and she says nothing. And you wonder what she's thinking. And for just a second, you're back in Claude's world. The world where silence is the loudest thing in the room. But I'm drifting. Let me come back to Liberty City. Back to the story. But Catalina is not finished. She is never finished. She's watching from across the water, and she's about to make the cruelest move yet. The bridges are open again. The Callahan Bridge, broken in the ambush that freed Claude at the beginning of the story, has been repaired. And with it, the final island is accessible. Shoreside Vale, the suburbs, the end game. The first time Claude drives across to Shoreside Vale, something shifts. The road widens. The buildings fall away. Trees appear actual trees, pines and maples. Their branches heavy with rain. Their leaves rustling in a wind that smells like soil and wet grass instead of exhaust and garbage. After weeks of concrete and brick and glass, the greenery feels almost unreal, like a hallucination, like the city is dreaming of a life it could have had. Shoreside Vale is deceptive. Suburban houses with neat lawns and basketball hoops in the driveway. A man washing his car, even though it's drizzling. Kids on bicycles. Sprinklers spinning on green lawns. Their rhythmic TSS, DSS, DSS, almost hypnotic. It looks like a place where the biggest problem is whether the neighbor's dog dug up the petunias again. But up in the hills, behind fences and guard towers, the Colombian cartel has built a fortress. And inside that fortress, Catalina waits. Before Claude can reach her, though, Shoreside Vale has its own war for him to fight. The Southside Hoods, a street gang that's been controlling parts of the island for years, have split in two. The original gang, led by a man called D-Ice, is fighting a breakaway faction called the Purple Nines. The Purple Nines have allied with the cartel. They deal spank on the streets. They're tearing their own community apart. D-Ice asks Claude for help. His missions are raw and unglamorous. Drive-bys, street fights, ambushes in housing project stairwells and parking lots. No strategy, no elegance, just the brutal, close-quarters reality of gang warfare. One mission stands out for its strangeness. D-Ice gives Claude a remote-controlled toy car rigged with explosives and tells him to use it to eliminate Purple Nine's members. Claude, the man who has destroyed cartel freighters and assassinated Mafia dons, finds himself crouched behind a wall, guiding a toy car through an alley with a tiny antenna controller, steering it toward a group of gang members who have no idea that the little buzzing thing at their feet is about to end their careers permanently. It's absurd, it's darkly funny, and it's very GTA. The series has always balanced its serious crime drama with moments of pure, ridiculous comedy. GTA San Andreas had you stealing a jetpack from a secret military base. GTA 5 had Trevor Phillips attending a debutante ball. These tonal shifts are deliberate. They keep the world from becoming oppressively dark. They remind you that Liberty City, for all its violence and corruption, is also a place where a toy car can be a deadly weapon, and a talk radio host can lose a debate with a pigeon conspiracy theorist. In one of D-Ice's other missions, Claude engages in a timed race through Shoreside Vale, taking out Purple Nine's members from a moving vehicle with an Uzi. The Uzi is practically a mascot for the GTA series. Compact, fast-firing, perfect for drive-by shooting, which has been a gameplay staple since the very first game. If any weapon archetype makes it into GTA 6, it'll be something like the Uzi, adapted, renamed, modernized, but serving the same gameplay purpose. Claude handles it all with his usual precision. The purple nines crumble, their leaders fall, their supply dries up. De-Ice's hoods reclaim their territory, block by block, corner by corner. And Claude, once again, has cleared the path ahead. There's a connection worth making here to the gang warfare system in GTA San Andreas. That game gave CJ the ability to claim territory for the Grove Street families by defeating rival gangs in pitched street battles. It was one of the most satisfying gameplay loops in the series. The feeling of watching your color spread across the map, block by block, as you reclaimed your neighborhood. De-Ice's missions in GTA 3 are the prototype for that system. They're simpler, less sophisticated, but the core idea is the same. Territory matters, and you take it by force. It wouldn't surprise me at all if GTA 6 includes some version of this mechanic, especially given that the game's Leonida setting includes rural areas and small towns where territorial control would be a natural part of the gameplay. Then everything comes apart, quickly, like a building that's been crumbling invisibly for months, and suddenly, in a single afternoon, collapses. Donald Love disappears. Claude goes to his penthouse for a meeting and finds it empty. Not just Donald is out for the day, empty. The kind of empty that means someone has erased themselves. Furniture gone, files gone, art gone. The bookshelves that lined the walls, filled with leather-bound volumes and antique curiosities, are bare. The desk where Donald sat and smiled his terrible smile and offered Claude drinks from crystal decanters, gone. Just bare carpet, marked with the impressions of furniture that is no longer there, like footprints left by ghosts. Claude walks through the empty rooms. His footsteps echo, the floor-to-ceiling windows let in the gray light of a Staunton afternoon. And without the furniture and the art and the carefully curated atmosphere of wealth and culture, the penthouse looks exposed, vulnerable, like a shell without a snail, like a face without a mask. There are stains on the carpet, dark stains near where the desk used to be. They might be wine. They might be something else. There's a faint smell in the air, sweet and wrong, like flowers left too long in a vase, like something organic that has begun to change into something else. Claude notices it. He doesn't linger. He turns and walks away. What happened to Donald Love? Nobody knows. The game never tells you. It's one of GTA 3's great unsolved mysteries, and it's made more disturbing by the hints the story dropped throughout Donald's missions. The strange appetites, the questionable hobbies, the implied cannibalism. Did he flee the country with his fortune? Did his past catch up with him? Did whatever darkness lived inside him finally consume him from the inside? The stains on the carpet and the smell in the air suggest something. but the story refuses to confirm it. And that refusal, that deliberate ambiguity, is more unsettling than any explicit answer could be. Donald Love, by the way, is one of those characters who shows up across multiple GTA games in really interesting ways. His appearance in GTA 5's City as a young protege learning the real estate trade from Avery Carrington gives his GTA 3 incarnation a tragic arc. You can trace the trajectory of his corruption, from ambitious student to wealthy eccentric to whatever he became in that empty penthouse. Most games don't even try that, spreading one character's arc across two different titles, separated by years of real-world time. Rockstar does it better than anyone, and GTA 6, with its presumably massive cast, will probably keep doing it. Characters whose stories spill past the edges of a single game. Then comes the real blow, the one that changes everything. Catalina strikes at Asuka. The Yakuza leader has been holding Miguel at a safe house in Shoreside Vale, still methodically extracting information about the cartel's operations. Catalina, knowing Miguel has been talking, knowing he's been spilling every detail of her empire to the enemy, makes a cold calculation. Miguel is a liability now. Asuka is a threat. Two problems, one solution. Cartel soldiers hit the safe house at dawn. They come in force, vehicles, automatic weapons, overwhelming numbers. By the time anyone could respond, it's over. When Claude arrives, driving fast, taking the turns too hard, something in his body recognizing urgency, even if his face shows nothing. The scene is quiet. That's the worst part. The quiet. After a massacre, there's always this terrible quiet, as if the violence has consumed all the sound in the area and left nothing behind. The safe house door is open. Bullet holes pockmark the walls in clusters, like some terrible constellation. Glass from the windows lies on the floor in glittering shards, catching the morning light. The air smells like cordite, that sharp, acrid smell of recently fired ammunition. And underneath it, the copper smell of blood. The Yakuza guards are dead. They lie where they fell, their positions telling the story of the attack. Some behind overturned furniture, caught in the act of defending. Some in doorways, trying to reach their weapons. Some just in the open, surprised, gone before they could react. Asuka is dead. She lies in the room where she spent weeks interrogating Miguel. The room is a mess. Chairs overturned, a table on its side, papers scattered across the floor, soaking up what's on the floor. Asuka's face, in death, holds none of the fierce intelligence that defined her in life. She just looks small, smaller than Claude remembered, smaller than anyone who commanded that much power should look. Miguel is dead too. His body is nearby, thrown against a wall, discarded. He was no longer useful to Catalina. And Catalina does not keep things that aren't useful. That's the lesson of her entire life, the philosophy that drives every decision she makes. Use it, break it, throw it away. But Catalina left something at the scene, a message, She's taken Maria, the woman who saved Claude's life, the woman who warned him about Salvador's car bomb. Catalina is holding her at the compound, and the unspoken challenge is clear. Come and get her, if you can. Claude stands in the wreckage. Rain comes through the broken windows. It patters on the floor, mixing with glass and dust and worse things. The room smells like gunpowder and copper and wet concrete. For a long moment, Claude doesn't move. This is unusual. Claude is always moving, always going forward. But right now, he's still. Until now, Claude has been a hired hand. He did Luigi's jobs, Joey's jobs, Salvador's jobs, Asuka's jobs, Donald Love's jobs. He was everyone's weapon and nobody's person, pointed at targets, given directions, a tool. But this, going after Catalina, rescuing Maria, this is Claude's choice. Nobody is paying him. Nobody is ordering him. There's no phone call, no boss, no mission briefing. Just Claude standing in a ruined room, making a decision that is entirely, completely, for the first time in the story, his own. He's going to the compound. He's going to find Catalina. He's going to end this. He gathers weapons, a pistol heavy and cold in his hand, a shotgun with a pump action that sounds like a question being asked, a rifle and a rocket launcher, heavy, awkward, the weapon you carry when you know guns alone won't be enough. He puts on body armor. He finds a car. He checks his weapons one more time. Then he drives. The road to the compound winds up into the hills. It's a beautiful drive, in a terrible kind of way. The hills are green, even in the rain. The city spreads out below, Portland and Staunton and Shoreside Vale. 3 islands connected by bridges. 3 worlds that Claude has conquered one by one. The radio plays. The wipers sweep. The road gets steeper. And Claude, silent as ever, drives toward the ending. Behind him, the city glows. All 3 islands, laid out below the hills like a model on a table. Portland to the east, small and cramped. Its elevated train tracks visible as dark lines against the yellow streetlights. Staunton in the middle, its towers catching the clouds. And Shoreside Vale, spread below the airport, the suburbs, the roads winding through the hills like ribbons. This is the city that tried to kill him, that used him, that betrayed him. And here he is, on the doorstep of the last fortress, the last enemy, the last fight. For the first time in the story, Claude looks tired, not just physically, deeper than that. Bone tired, soul tired, tired from being used, from filling whatever shape the world needs, and never having a shape of his own. But tired doesn't mean stopped. The compound appears through the trees. Walls, guard towers, floodlights, armed men. It looks like a military installation, a fortress built by a woman who knew, from the very beginning, that someone would come for her someday. Claude parks the car, checks his weapons, gets out, starts walking. The first guard doesn't see him coming. The second one does, but it doesn't matter. Claude enters the compound the way he does everything, directly, without a wasted motion. He walks through the front entrance with a gun in each hand and begins the longest, hardest fight of his life. The cartel has dozens of soldiers inside, maybe hundreds. They're well armed, they know the layout, they have every advantage. On paper, Claude doesn't stand a chance. But paper doesn't know Claude. He fights through the outer courtyard. Soldiers come from every direction, behind walls, from rooftops, around corners. Claude moves and shoots, and reloads and moves again. The body armor takes hits, dents, holds, for now. He pushes deeper, through a gate, into an inner courtyard. More soldiers, more gunfire. The air is thick, with the smell of burned powder and rain. Shell casings ring on the concrete like small brass bells. An explosion shakes the ground. Claude dives behind a barrier. The blast wave ruffles his hair. He pops up and keeps firing. Room by room, building by building. The compound is a labyrinth. Corridors lead to open spaces that lead to more corridors. Claude maps it in real time, storing the layout in his head, the way he stored the streets of Portland all those weeks ago. Every corner might hide a soldier. Every doorway might hide a trap. The details of the compound imprint themselves on Claude's senses, whether he wants them to or not. The smell of wet concrete mixed with gunpowder, the taste of copper in the air, from blood, from bullets, from the adrenaline that turns every breath metallic, the sound of his own footsteps, suddenly loud in a corridor where the fighting has paused, where the only other sound is the drip of rain through a hole in the ceiling, the heat of a recently fired gun barrel near his face when he presses against a wall, the cold of the rain when he crosses an open courtyard, exposed, vulnerable, moving as fast as his battered body will allow. At one point, Claude takes cover behind an overturned table in what looks like it was once a dining room. There are plates on the floor, a broken bottle of something expensive, a photograph on the wall of a place far from here, a beach maybe, with palm trees and blue water. Someone lived here. Someone ate dinner at this table and looked at that photograph and dreamed about the beach. And now the table is a barricade, and the photograph has a bullet hole through the middle of the water. This is what violence does. It turns ordinary things into combat positions. Dinner tables become shields. Hallways become kill zones. Rooftops become battlefields. The whole world becomes a weapon if you look at it the right way or the wrong way, depending on who you are. The fight goes on and on. Time stretches. Claude's arms ache. His ears ring. The body armor is battered and scored, its surface showing the white scuffs and deep gouges of a dozen impacts, each one a bullet that would have been the end if the vest hadn't been there. But he doesn't stop. Never has. Never will. That's Claude, the one difference between him and everyone else in this story. Everyone else has a breaking point. Claude doesn't. He reaches the heart of the compound, and there, on a rooftop with the rain pouring down, is Catalina. She looks the same dark hair, same dark eyes, same smile that means nothing and promises everything. Maria is beside her, crying, terrified. "You know," Catalina says, "I really thought you'd die in that alley. Most people would have. But not you. You just kept going, kept surviving, kept making things difficult." She shakes her head, almost amused. "I gave you a chance, Claude. A bullet and a goodbye. But you couldn't take the hint." Claude stands opposite her, drenched, battered, exhausted, silent. What follows is fast and brutal. Catalina makes her escape. A cartel helicopter, engines running, waiting on a nearby pad. Because Catalina always has a plan B. She grabs Maria, drags her toward the helicopter, and the machine rises into the rain-dark sky. Not this time. Claude reaches for the rocket launcher, the heavy weapon he's been carrying through the entire compound, saving for exactly this. He lifts it to his shoulder. The helicopter banks. Rain blurs the air. Rotor wash batters his clothes. He aims, fires. The rocket crosses the sky in a streak of light and smoke. It hits the helicopter's engine. For one impossibly long second, nothing happens. Then the sky explodes, orange and red and yellow. A bloom of fire that lights up all of Shoreside Vale. Burning wreckage spirals downward, trailing smoke. Catalina falls with it. She's gone. The woman who shot Claude in that alley. The woman who built an empire on poison. The woman who went through partners, CJ, Claude, Miguel, like disposable tools, using each one until they broke, then moving on to the next. She falls from the sky in a ball of fire. And the story's central question: can the silent man outlast the woman who made him silent? Is answered. And just like that, it's over. The rain continues to fall, but the gunfire has stopped. The compound is silent, except for the crackle of small fires and the distant sound of sirens approaching from the city below. Smoke drifts across the rooftop. The air smells like burning fuel and wet earth and something chemical and sharp. Claude stands alone on the rooftop. He lowers the rocket launcher. Its weight, which he's been carrying through the entire compound, suddenly seems enormous. He lets it fall. It clangs against the concrete and rolls to a stop near the edge. Below him, Liberty City glows. 3 islands, 1,000 stories, 1,000,000 lives lived in the spaces between the violence and the rain. From up here at the top of this hill, in the aftermath of this battle, the city looks almost peaceful, almost beautiful. The lights twinkle, the harbor shimmers, the bridges stretch between the islands like threads, holding everything together. It's strange, isn't it? You can burn down an empire, and the city keeps going. You can kill a Don and a Yakuza leader and a cartel boss, and the city doesn't even blink. Liberty City has been here before Claude arrived, and it'll be here long after he's gone. The power vacuums will be filled. The territories will be redrawn. New bosses will rise, make the same mistakes, and fall in the same ways. The cycle continues. It always continues. That's the heartbeat of Grand Theft Auto. Not the gunshots and the car chases, but the cycle. The eternal grinding cycle of ambition and destruction. GTA Vice City showed us that cycle in the 1980s, with Tommy Vercetti building an empire from nothing. GTA San Andreas showed it in the 1990s, with CJ reclaiming his neighborhood only to get pulled into something much bigger. GTA 4 showed it through the eyes of an immigrant, Nico Bellic, who came to Liberty City seeking the American dream and found only the American nightmare. GTA 5 showed three men, Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, each trapped in their own version of the cycle, each unable to escape. And GTA 6, from everything we've seen and heard, will show it again, through Lucia and Jason, in a Vice City that has been reimagined for the modern era, with all the excess and absurdity and beauty and horror of 21st century America. But it all started here, on this rooftop, in this rain, with this man. Maria is alive, thrown clear, or maybe she jumped, or maybe Claude pulled her out at the last second. The details don't matter. She's alive. She's standing next to Claude on that rooftop, and she's shaking, and she's crying, and she's talking. Of course she's talking. Oh my God, Claude. I can't believe it. You came for me. You actually came for me. I knew you would. I told them. I told Catalina. He'll come. And you did. They walk away from the compound, through the rain, through the hills, toward the road. Maria keeps talking about the future, about the beach, about sunsets and restaurants, and a life without guns and gangs, and everything that has defined every minute of this story. Claude walks beside her, silent, the same silence he's carried from the first scene to this one, the silence that was his weapon and his shield and his cage. And then a gunshot. One single gunshot. Sharp, final. Then silence. Total silence. The screen goes black. That gunshot is one of the most debated moments in gaming history. What happened? Who fired? Who was hit? The story never answers. It just ends. Black screen. Credits. Silence. Some believe Claude shot Maria, that her endless talking finally broke something in him. Some believe a surviving cartel soldier took a final shot. Some believe Claude turned the gun on himself. And some believe the gunshot means nothing specific. It's just Liberty City's way of ending a sentence, with a period made of lead. I'm not going to tell you which interpretation is right, because there is no right answer. The ambiguity is the point, and that ambiguity is something Rockstar has carried forward into every game since. Let me talk for a moment about what GTA 3 means in the larger picture. Because this game, this story, this silent man in a rainy city, this is where everything started. Before GTA 3, open-world games barely existed as a concept. The idea that you could wander freely through a living, breathing city, steal any car, go anywhere, interact with anyone, was science fiction. GTA 3 made it reality. And every open-world game that followed, every Assassin's Creed, every Far Cry, every Spider-Man, every single one, owes a debt to what Rockstar built in 2001. The technology matters, but the storytelling matters more. GTA 3 proved that an open-world game could tell a real story. A real story, one that made you care. Characters who had reasons for what they did. Characters with flaws that ate them alive. Characters like Salvatore, whose paranoia destroyed him. Like Maria, whose refusal to be silent was both her strength and possibly her doom. Like Donald Love, whose civilized exterior masked something monstrous. These aren't just mission givers. They're people. Terrible people mostly, but people. And that's what made GTA 3 different. Now, with GTA 6 coming in November 2026, set in the fictional state of Leonida, Rockstar's version of Florida, centered around Vice City, let me ask a question. What has GTA 6 inherited from GTA 3? The answer is more than you might think. The dual protagonist structure of GTA 6, Jason and Lucia, a criminal couple whose relationship drives the story, is a direct evolution of the dynamic GTA 3 introduced with Claude and Catalina. GTA 3 asked what happens when a criminal partnership falls apart. GTA 6 appears to be asking the same question, but with more complexity, giving both partners a voice, a perspective, a point of view. Claude was silent. Jason and Lucia both speak. That shift from silence to dialogue. That's 25 years of Rockstar figuring out how to tell stories in open worlds. The concept of a city divided into distinct districts, each with its own character and criminal ecosystem. That started in GTA 3's 3 islands, Portland, Staunton, Shoreside Vale, each one a different world with different rules. GTA 6's Leonida, with Vice City and the surrounding areas of the Everglades and the Keys, extends this idea to an entire state. But the blueprint was drawn in Liberty City. The idea that your protagonist's story is shaped by the people they work for, that each boss is a different faction, a different worldview, a different set of rules. That's pure GTA 3. Claude's climb from Luigi to Joey, to Salvatore to Asuka, to Donald Love, is the template that every subsequent GTA game has followed. The boss structure, the escalating complexity, the inevitable betrayal. It's all there in GTA 3, and it'll all be there in GTA 6, polished and expanded and rendered in graphics that would have seemed impossible in 2001. Now, will specific characters or vehicles from GTA 3 actually appear in GTA 6? Probably not directly. Rockstar has been very clear about the distinction between their universes. GTA 3 exists in what fans call the 3D universe, the same timeline as Vice City, San Andreas, and the story's games. GTA 6, like GTA 4 and GTA 5, exists in the HD universe. Rockstar has said that three-dimensional characters don't cross between universes, so Claude won't show up in Vice City. Neither will Catalina or Salvador or Asuka. But here's where it gets interesting. Rockstar has also said that brands, radio stations, and background elements can cross universes. Laszlo has appeared in both the 3D and HD eras. The band Love Fist, first introduced in Vice City, gets mentioned in GTA 4 and 5. Liberty City as a location exists in both universes, just redesigned. So while you won't see Claude driving a Banshee through Vice City in GTA 6, you might hear a reference to the Leone family on a radio station. You might see a spank-related news story on an in-game TV broadcast. You might catch a Chatterbox FM bumper sticker on someone's car. Rockstar loves these little Easter eggs, these breadcrumbs that connect the games for the fans who are paying attention. Now let's talk about the cars. GTA 3's car roster was revolutionary for its time. The Banshee sports car, the Diablo Stallion, the Yakuza Stinger, the Mafia Sentinel. Many of these vehicle names have been reused and reimagined across the series. The Banshee appears in GTA 4 and 5. The Sentinel has been in nearly every GTA game since 3. It's entirely possible, even likely, that some of GTA 3's iconic vehicle models will appear in GTA 6 in some form, updated for modern graphics, but carrying the same names, the same DNA. Think about the Infernus, too. That car first appeared in GTA 3 as the fastest vehicle in the game. A sleek, low-slung sports car that you could find in Shoreside Vale if you knew where to look. The Infernus showed up again in Vice City, in San Andreas, in GTA 4, and in GTA 5 through GTA Online updates. It's one of the most enduring vehicles in the franchise. I'd be shocked if some version of the Infernus doesn't make it into GTA 6. The same goes for the Cheetah, the Stallion, the Patriot. These cars are part of GTA's DNA. They're as much a part of the brand as the characters and the cities. Let me run through the gameplay stuff because it matters. GTA 3 invented systems that every open-world game now takes for granted. The wanted level stars from 1 to 6. Cops escalating from patrol cars to helicopters to tanks. That was GTA 3. Pay and Spray, where you drive into a garage and come out with new paint. And the cops magically forget about you, GTA 3. Bosses calling you on the phone to offer work. GTA 3 invented that. Hidden packages scattered across the map, rewarding you for poking around every corner. GTA 3. Stealing an ambulance, and suddenly you're playing a paramedic mini-game. GTA 3. Stunt jumps off ramps hidden in weird places. GTA 3. Every one of these systems has been refined and expanded in subsequent games. The wanted system got more sophisticated. The mission structure got more cinematic. The exploration rewards got more creative. But they all started here, in Liberty City, in 2001. GTA 6 will undoubtedly push these systems further than ever before. Leaks suggest a more dynamic wanted system, more complex NPC behaviors, a more reactive world. But the foundation was poured by GTA 3. There's one more thing about GTA 3's legacy, and it might be the biggest. GTA 3 proved that video games mattered, that they could shake the culture. When GTA 3 came out, it sparked debates about violence in media, about the relationship between games and real-world behavior, about whether interactive entertainment should be treated with the same seriousness as film and literature. Those debates were often misguided and sometimes downright silly, but they mattered because they meant people were paying attention. Games weren't toys anymore. Games were art, or at least they were trying to be. And GTA 3 was the title that forced the conversation. GTA 6 is carrying that torch. It's set to be the most expensive game ever made, with a budget rumored to exceed $1 billion. Gamers are watching. The entire entertainment industry is watching. Its marketing is a cultural event. Its release date shapes the schedules of every other game publisher on Earth. And all of that, every dollar, every headline, every breathless anticipation, traces back to a rainy night in 2001, when a man in a leather jacket stepped out of a police van and into a city that would change everything. The truth is, GTA 3's legacy isn't about specific characters or vehicles. It's about the blueprint, the template, the proof of concept that became one of the most successful entertainment franchises in human history. Every time you drive through an open world and feel like the city is alive around you. Every time you hear a radio station playing music that matches the mood, or notice a pedestrian doing something funny, or feel the weight of a story that's bigger than any single mission. You're experiencing something that started in Liberty City in 2001 with a man who never said a word. Let's come back to the quiet now. The story is over. All 3 acts, all 3 islands, every betrayal, every bullet, from Claude's fall in the alley to his rise on the rooftop, from the silence at the beginning to the silence at the end. Liberty City is quiet now, or as quiet as it ever gets. The rain is still falling. It's always falling, but softer now. A drizzle, a mist, the kind of rain you can barely feel on your skin. The kind that makes the air itself seem soft, like the world has wrapped itself in cotton. Let me walk you through the city one last time. Slowly, gently, the way you'd walk through a museum after hours, when all the visitors have gone and the art belongs only to you. Portland at night, the red light district, the neon signs are still buzzing, but they feel different now, warmer, gentler, like night lights in a child's room, pink and blue and green, reflecting off wet pavement in soft, smeared lines. A taxi idles at a curb, its engine ticking over, its driver reading a newspaper in the glow of the dashboard light. The club doors are closed. The music has stopped. The bouncer has gone home. A cat picks its way along the edge of a puddle, stepping carefully, its shadow stretching long under a streetlight. The elevated train sits quiet on its tracks. No rumble, no rattle, just the tracks themselves. Two lines of steel disappearing into the dark, catching the occasional gleam of a passing headlight. A paper cup rolls along the platform in a gentle breeze, making a soft, scraping sound that could almost be mistaken for whispered conversation. Chinatown. The paper lanterns are still lit, swinging gently on their wires. The restaurant kitchens are dark. A single light burns above a back door where someone forgot to turn it off, casting a warm rectangle of gold onto the alley below. The smell of five-spice powder has faded to a ghost. Just a hint, just a memory, mixing with the smell of wet concrete and the green, growing smell of herbs in a window box. St. Mark's, Salvator's mansion, sits dark on the hill. No guards at the gate, no lights in the windows, just a big, cold house, slowly being forgotten by a city that has already moved on to the next thing, the next boss, the next drama. The stone walls of the mansion are wet with rain, and they gleam dully in the ambient light from the city below. An owl sits on the iron gate, patient and silent, watching the empty driveway with eyes that see everything and judge nothing. Staunton Island. The skyscrapers catch the clouds and hold them like cupped hands holding water. Office lights glow in empty buildings where janitors push mops across marble floors, their movements slow and rhythmic. The construction site is abandoned. A skeleton of steel and concrete, sheets of plastic flapping in the wind with a sound like slow, tired applause. The casino where Kenji died has new management. The lights are on. The music plays. Someone always fills the gap. That's Liberty City's first and last, and only law. Donald Love's penthouse is dark. The windows reflect nothing but sky. Shoreside Vale. The suburbs sleep, really sleep, not the performative stillness of Portland or the restless hum of Staunton, but actual, genuine quiet. Bedroom lights turning off one by one. The click of a thermostat, the sigh of a house settling into its foundations for the night. A dog curled on a porch, nose tucked under tail, dreaming dog dreams. Sprinklers hissing on lawns that nobody is looking at. The airport in the distance, its control tower blinking red and white like a lighthouse on a shore made of runways. Planes still take off through the night. You can hear them if you listen, that distant roar that starts as a whisper and builds to a rumble, and then fades, fades, fades until it's gone, and the plane is somewhere above the clouds, heading somewhere that isn't here. And up in the hills, the compound stands empty. The fires are out. The rain has done its work. What remains is just structure, walls and roofs, and the framework of what was once an empire. Tomorrow, or the day after, someone will come to assess the damage. Insurance adjusters, building inspectors, People with clipboards and hard hats who will walk through the wreckage and calculate its value and never know, never even suspect what happened here, what was fought for, what was lost. But tonight it's ruins, quiet ruins, glistening with rain, slowly being reclaimed by the green, patient hills that were here long before the compound, and will be here long after the last wall crumbles. And somewhere, in a place the story doesn't show us, in a future it refuses to describe, Claude exists. Maybe walking down a road, maybe sitting in a car, maybe lying on his back, staring at a sky that refuses to show its stars. We don't know. We'll never know. That's the deal with Claude. That's the deal he struck with the universe, or the universe struck with him. Silence in exchange for survival. Mystery in exchange for freedom. An empty page that the world writes on in blood and neon light. He never spoke a word, not one, and somehow his story is one of the loudest ever told. So that's the story. All of it. Grand Theft Auto 3. A man gets shot by the woman he loves. He survives. He works for anyone willing to pay. He climbs through 3 islands of criminals who all think they're using him. One by one, they betray him or die or disappear. He says nothing the entire time. And at the end, he stands on a hill with a rocket launcher and a woman who won't stop talking. And a single gunshot closes the book. 25 years later, Rockstar is about to release GTA 6. New city, new characters, new technology that would have looked like witchcraft in 2001. But the bones are the same. The blueprint Claude drew in the rain, the open world, the boss structure, the radio stations, the betrayals, the feeling of a city that breathes. All of it traces back to Portland Island and a guy in a leather jacket who couldn't be bothered to speak. He didn't need to. Anyway, that's it. If you're still awake, I hope it was worth the ride. If you're already out, good. That was the whole point. I will let the rest of the finale play out. Good night.
This thing airborne!
Risque, gringo. I'm going to kill you. I risque, gringo. I'm going to kill you. I risque, gringo. You going to kill it. Yeah, you brave man, eh? Run. I'm going to kill you.
Residents in Cedar Grove have been coming to terms with the emotional aftermath of a full-blown war that hit the area yesterday. Local resident Clive Denver described to police a single gunman that he saw fleeing the scene with a dark-haired woman.
Oh, we're gonna have such fun, because, I love you. I really do, because you're such a big, strong man, and that's just what I need. Anyway, what was I saying? I forget, but you know what it's like, don't you?
The sound of explosions shook nearby homes as people ran for cover. Several citizens were injured in the panic as gunfire was exchanged between ground forces and a helicopter circling the dam.
Yeah, we got a good view from down here in the gardens. When the copter finally got taken out, better than the fireworks on the 4th of July.
With the death toll already over 20, police are still finding bodies. There have been no official denials concerning rumors that the dead were members of the Colombian cartel, and still no leads as to the cause of the massacre.
I broke a nail and my hair is ruined. I mean, can you believe it? This one cost me $50.